The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and our broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. And check out the new Relmar website. The guys over in our tech department have been working on it all weekend. www.rel-mar.com. I've asked you a lot of silly questions over the years that we've been together, X-Zone Nation. Craig is nodding his head. Oh yeah, he's asked some doozies. But here's a new one for you. Would you stick your head in a microwave oven? No. Everybody's saying, well, of course not, Rob. Well, we're going to talk to Kim Durand this hour about why using a cell phone could just be as dangerous unless you do something that he's going to be telling us about. Durand is the CEO of Aulterra International, pioneering research and development of products that protect against the negative effect of EMFs, and we all know what they are, electromagnetic fields. And he works with quantum biology labs to expand the science behind his Neutralizer product. And first of all, Dan, welcome to the X-Zone. Great having you with us.
Thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure to be on.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my I started I started this because I found issues with my children getting sick and being a toy nut back many years ago. Came across some article on the internet about EMFs, so from there I started researching and found that potentially a lot of the stuff I had in my house may have been the reason my children were getting ill more often, and I took all that stuff out and they got better, and I put it back in and they got sick again. So after about 4 times and my children just about wanted to all leave me, I did realize there was probably a connection between EMFs and their health and stuff. So from there I started just digging into research, and I ran across some of the top experts in the world in that field at that time, and came up with an idea and got other scientists, PhDs, to do some research for me, and found out that what I had discovered actually worked, and spent 10 years in R&D coming up with a product that we now have out there called the Neutralizer, which actually alters the waveform coming from the cell phone. Instead of blocking it or absorbing it, it actually changes the waveform or neutralizes it. So when it moves through your body, it looks more like an organic waveform, like gravity, than a man-made electromagnetic field.
So that's only the EMFs or the microwaves that are coming into your body from a cell phone?
Well, a cell phone, computer. I mean, one of the subjects I'm really going to want to talk a little bit about is the latest studies that came from Europe, and there were 6 countries involved which had to deal with male infertility, or inability to get their partners pregnant and have children, and that's because they use them in their laptop while they ride on trains a lot, texting, and their computers. So it's not just from cell phones. And the term we use, why would you put your head in a microwave, or would you? In that spectrum of electromagnetic fields or radio waves, on one extreme is a microwave, and at the other is, a very subtle field like a FM radio station or something. And we're somewhere in the middle. So there's certain ranges that definitely do damage to the body, and other ones that aren't quite so dangerous.
All right, Kim, we're going to have to take a commercial break here. Please stand by. We'll be back in 2 minutes. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Kim Durand. We're going to be talking to Kim about something then I believe that could certainly be a lifesaver. Ever notice that whenever you drive into a gas station, it says, please make sure your cell phones are off? They do that for a reason.
Yeah.
And yet nobody ever questions it. I'll be back with Dan Durand on the other side of this website. For more information, visit their website at www.aulterra.com. That's Aulterra.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Dan Durand and I are back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
We all desire health, happiness, and fulfillment, but often get in our own way. Repeated patterns that leave us out of control can keep us feeling powerless, frustrated, and unable to move forward in spite of our best efforts. Unconscious patterning disconnects us from our gifts, often destroying the very thing we seek. But there is an answer. We can take charge of our destiny and heal the trauma of our history. Shamanism is an effective ancient modality that can reconnect us with our true selves, empower the creation of our dreams, and return us to health and balance. Cody Alexander is a certified shamanic practitioner and teacher with 11 years' experience. Email healingpathways33@gmail.com or visit codyalexander.net to schedule a long-distance shamanic session today.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. Dan Durand is my special guest this hour. www.aulterra.com. We're talking about microwaves and cell phones this hour. And first of all, Dan, let me ask you, what is it that cell phone manufacturers don't reveal to the consumer, and what's on the FCC fine print that's included with all the good old telephones that we buy from any of the carriers?
Well, Rob, first off, by the way, my first name is Kim, not Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I wanted to correct that. I apologize. What the cell phone industry does not tell you is, this information that's just now getting out or has been getting out since about 2000. It started with Dr. George Carlo. Is that there are really hazards to electromagnetic fields, and many of those are similar, not like putting your head directly in a microwave, but it's the first time we ever invented something or created something that we actually put right next to our head that actually emits electromagnetic fields strong enough to alter or have damage to our DNA. And they've known that from the very beginning. You'd be surprised at how many people, major presidents or people from different cell phone industries actually use our product inside their phones. And the fine print they have, and it's been there for quite a few many years when you buy a cell phone, if you read it thoroughly, which nobody does because there's too many pages of it, it says to keep your phone at least 3/4 of an inch away from your head to an inch. Well, I've never seen anybody actually do that. The other thing is they came out with what they then called the Bluetooth technology, which is a low level of EMFs, but they've since found that you get the same amount of potential damage to your DNA or to your cell tissue and a potential tumor hazard from a low EMF if you do from a regular cell phone, which is considered a normal or high electromagnetic field. So those are the things they don't want you to know. That they've known there was a problem from day one. They probably could have fixed it very easily. What I came up with was a simple solution actually from nature that causes the waveform to retune itself, so to speak, or take an incoherent wave and make it coherent, so when it goes through your body, it can do no harm. And that's the difference between us and anything else out there. And what took us so worldwide so quickly was a simple fact that it simply retuned it or re-altered the wave so that it, when moved through your body, it acted like a natural electromagnetic field such as gravity, which your body is used to and designed to grow within.
Tell me, how did you get involved in all of this? What is your background?
Well, my background is not in science of any form whatsoever. I actually was a contractor, a builder, and stuff like that. I got into this because I had the illusion that I was going to retire early and thought I had, and then I was raising 4 children by myself at the time. And from that I found my kids getting sick, as I mentioned earlier, and just started digging into potential reasons why, and came up with there was an article released in 1958 by the military about stuff that happened in radio stations on aircraft carriers and stuff like that. And I had actually an uncle that worked on one, and they used to have a spot where they'd put a grilled cheese sandwich and make a grilled cheese sandwich just from the EMS bouncing inside this metal little room. And those are called hot spots. And that information is what inspired me to start digging more into it until I found out that there was a lot more data that just wasn't released to the general public that indicated there were problems from the get-go. And I just looked into that, tried some ideas, and found a solution. I work with something called paramagnetism, and it's not something a lot of people know about. Dr. Phil Callahan, one of the leading experts in that field, uses it for agriculture because it is a mineral or a certain type of minerals that come from the earth. And I just blended them a certain way and found a deposit very rich in that and applied that to a cell phone and found it actually altered the waveform coming from the phone.
So basically, how does this little device that you've invented actually change a waveform? Because I haven't heard of this before.
Well, it's not that uncommon. There were a couple other companies that have done similar things using technology instead of minerals. But it's simply one subtle energy field affecting another. So what happens is it actually creates a carrier wave around the wave coming to or from your phone so that it turns it so that the body recognizes it as a familiar wave, and it's used in many different types of technologies. We also use it like at some different major companies to lower electromagnetic fields coming from something to make it pass FCC specs or CE marking. So they use like ferrite beads to do that with, which actually alters a waveform too. It actually changes it. It only just changes a particular frequency. So ours covers a broader spectrum and therefore simply interacts with, it's one subtle energy field interacting with another. It does exactly what we were hoping it would do.
All right, how would this affect people who are living within a very close proximity to microwave towers and cell towers? Would it be of an advantage to them as well?
Yeah, very much so. And that's one of our largest areas of selling the product is people putting it on their cell phone. It does affect the wave coming to their phone also. No.
What I'm talking about is I'm not talking about people who are using cell phones, because the
cell phone tower itself.
Yeah, that's right.
The Neutralizer itself, we're coming out with several new products. One's a bracelet, one's a necklace, and other, because a lot of guys don't like wearing jewelry. We're actually putting it in like a credit card they can carry in their wallet. And it has about a 6-foot radius, so it affects any electromagnetic field coming towards them from a cell phone tower. that in itself will then protect you from the energy coming from the cell phone tower itself. And those are products. We currently have a couple other products that do that, but they're a little bigger and bulkier. I was hired to go down to Turkey and actually work with the government down there to I made copper rings filled with a blend of paramagnetic materials that we put on each cell phone tower, because their towers are only 6 feet high on every street corner. Mm-hmm. And so if you're sitting in a coffee shop, you were getting toasted. We were successful in accomplishing lowering that effect on people that were very close to it. If you're within a foot or two, I mean, it can put out enough damage to burn your hand. But if you're much further than that, or the further away you get, the less the damage. So our product actually neutralized that effect also.
1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. Do you have any idea about how many cell phones there are in use today worldwide?
About 5.6 billion, actually, was the last number produced about a month ago.
And what is the range? What is the range of the EMF that is actually harmful to people?
I'm trying to remember the name of the spectrum there, and I'm going to get caught up. There's about 94 different frequencies, and I know it starts in the 800 hertz range and goes up to another, and I quite honestly don't have that number in front of me. I'm a little embarrassed. I usually know these things so that it's Monday morning.
Hey, no problem.
It is somewhere between an FM radio range and a microwave range, and there's, like I said, 94 different frequencies that cell phones run on. And because the waves are getting so saturated right now, the FCC is getting prepared to release a higher level of waves that are generally used by the military, and then passing on a higher level to the military to use, because we're getting so many dropped calls, and every once in a while you end up hearing somebody else on your line that's not supposed to be there, and that's just because the amount of EMFs in the atmosphere is saturated. Back in the early 1900s, there were only 1,200 electromagnetic fields that are natural ones coming from the sun and everything else that went through our atmosphere every day. And now there's over 25,000, and those are all caused by man-made devices.
Now,
and that's when
a lot of people don't realize that an EMF is also caused by the portable regular phones that you have in your house, the base and the receiver. We also have the wireless routers in your house. Now, all of these create EMFs as well.
Right, and one of the biggest problems, and actually the ones in your house cause more harm than a cell phone does. Mm-hmm. And the reason it does, and we have the graphs and charts from spectrum and analyzers to prove that, you get like a 2.4 gigahertz from your home phone, and it's just one simple high peak, and that's a very sharp high peak that definitely impacts your ability to the cells in your head and stuff more quickly. Whereas a cell phone can pick up a wide range of frequencies, so there's not such a high peak. So in our research, we found that, and many universities now have, and including work done at some major ones, that a home phone actually has a potential to cause more harm than a cell phone.
How many studies?
Because of that high peak, yeah.
How many studies have you and your company commissioned in this field?
We've done probably 16 ourselves, but we have a list of over 360 that were done by independent people around the world. The thing here, and as you know, I'm in the United States, they're very, very good at quieting things up. One of the better studies was done by a lady out of Santa Barbara, a research scientist, a doctor, and she took 20 people down into Mexico and spent 2 weeks researching everything that was available, and they came out with a 600-page report. It hit every paper in a magazine and a newspaper for about 2 days and then disappeared. And now it's hard to find. But in Europe, everybody still sees it. Any health thing you go to over there, all this research is still there. So in this country here, they're very good at keeping it as quiet as possible.
All right, we've got to keep it quiet for another couple of minutes because we have to go take a commercial break with the news. Exonation, our guest this hour is Kim Durand. And Kim and I will be back on the other side of this break talking more about microwaves and cell phones. If you'd like more information on how you can get a neutralizer, visit his website at www.ulterra.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the four corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is... Whoops, what happened there, Craig? Oh, I see. My guest this hour is Kim Durand. He is the president and CEO of Aulterra International. Their website is www.aulterra.com. That's aulterra.com. Kim, we were starting to talk about a report that seems to be suppressed in North America, and yet it's still available or used in Europe. Tell me about this. Tell me about this report and why the suppression.
The report was done by, like I said, a female doctor researcher out of Santa Barbara, and she took a group of scientists with her down into Mexico where they could safely study and do things, and spent 2 weeks researching all the data worldwide, and came out with a 600-page report concluding that there were definitely potential health hazards from the use of cell phones and other handheld electronic devices. And this has been common throughout all over. I mean, I travel all over the world,
right.
And in most countries except the U.S., everybody seems to know a lot more about it than people here. These reports get suppressed quite easily, and the cell phone industry has a lot of clout in the U.S. And from one of the papers I came across, it showed that the second largest stream of income to the U.S. government was from taxes from the cell phone industry, being it the user, the use of time, the cell phone itself, all those sort of things. So there's a gigantic financial reason for them to keep certain information suppressed. And often people just simply don't want to know. I mean, I didn't want to give up my cell phone, and fortunately I came up with something so we didn't have to. And it's other things like the World Health Organization announced last year that they had categorized cell phone electromagnetic field radiation as a carcinogen in the same category as lead, as car exhaust. I think it's called a Class C carcinogenic. Everywhere in the world keeps talking about it, except here in the U.S. I mean, it was on a few TV shows. Dr. Oz got it on, a few other people. But then all of a sudden it disappeared. People have a hard time finding it. They've just become very, very good in this country, and I don't know about Canada quite so well, at actually suppressing information very quickly, and they don't want people to know about it.
Why then, with all this information that's out there, why haven't organizations taken up the cause and gone after the government, raising oh heck? Look what happened on Wall Street. Look what happens with other things that happen. The people get a hold of it, and away they go.
One of the primary reasons for that, and it's like so many other things, and it's a prime example is the tobacco industry. The cell phone industry uses a lot of the same networks of law firms that were used back then for the tobacco industry. Mm-hmm. And for 20 years, they kept us convinced that it couldn't just be from that. And finally, they lost, and we all know what happened as a result of that. One of the reasons that people don't want to bring it up is because there's no solution, or there had not been a really good, valid, scientifically patented, peer-reviewed solution to it. And now that there is, more and more talk is starting to come out about it. It's getting me and other people, but particularly our company, on a lot of TV shows and radio shows and different things. And there's organizations like Dr. Deborah Davis, she has the Environmental Health Institute, are doing everything they can to talk to Congress, to do all these things. It's starting to become a hotter and hotter issue all the time. And I speculate over the next 6 months we're going to see some major changes in that industry.
Let me ask you this. You're a businessman. You're in the business of making money. That's what you have to. That's what you have to report to your shareholders and your investors. What happens? The U.S. government or any other company comes around. Copyrights and patents that are available to the public. They take a look at yours and they say, all we have to do is modify this, that, and the other thing. Bang, we're in business. Or what happens if the government or the cell companies themselves incorporate something that does the same thing without violating your patent?
Well, they've tried. I've been visited, and I cannot mention names, but the single largest producer of cell phones in that industry out of Europe has come to us and has simply asked, can we get up to producing 2 million pieces a day? Because when they lose a major class action lawsuit, we're the company they want to go with. Our patent was written by a couple of attorneys that actually at one time had worked for the Gates Foundation, and I was extremely fortunate and lucky. So we have 43 different claims in that patent, and it's all based on paramagnetism. Now, it's the only thing they found that actually alters the waveform that way that is financially feasible to do. I mean, it can actually be embedded, if it had to, into the plastic and the molding of the phone itself, and it would make all those things safe. We're bringing up things now that people didn't, like baby monitors and that sort of stuff. That's now starting to get a lot more public attention than was gotten before. So we've had people come after our patent and know they've stopped because it's done so well.
All right, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If the danger is there, okay, I'm playing the devil's advocate here.
Please do.
If the danger is there with, like you said, baby monitors, Wi-Fi's, the home wireless phones, how is it then that these companies are still allowed to sell this? And knowingly, if this report is correct and what you're telling me is true, they are allowed to continue to endanger the public.
It's quite simple. When one of the things I've learned, and it was a surprise to me to learn, so sharing with all of your listeners, research is a very interesting thing, scientific research. They can always find, like, for example, in the cell phone, let's just talk the cell phone thing real quick.
Sure.
There's 94 frequencies. 7 of those are safe. 7 of those in that range are safe, and they're identical to an organic or natural electromagnetic field. So when the cell phone industry does a test, they pick one of those 7, and the results come out that there's no harm. That's how they get away with things like that. That's the things they do that they don't want the public to know. That is part of the process that takes place.
But if there's more than those 7, if there's more than those 7 frequencies, are you telling me that the government doesn't know about the other frequencies that are dangerous?
Oh no, they know about them all, but that's not they absolutely know about all the other frequencies.
So is this part of a massive government cover-up and conspiracy?
Well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist like that. I do know that they're aware of a lot more than they tell people about. And I'm saying one of the reasons they haven't made a big deal about it, one is money, and the other is they haven't had a real solution that worked.
Gotcha. I find it hard. I find it hard to believe that if this information is correct, that organizations such as NASA and the other scientific great minds of the United States and around the world haven't come up with a solution before now.
They haven't been motivated to.
What's your motivation?
As a guy, and let me explain that real quickly. As we're talking, the couple of companies, well, let's say there's 8 of them that have come to us that we've spoken with, and they're the big players, have simply said, as soon as we lose a multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuit, we're going to come up with a solution, and we'd like it to be yours. Until they lose. And it baffles me. I say, well, why don't you be proactive and put it out there and say, we found something that actually makes our product a better product. For some reason, and I don't know the law well enough to be able to answer that completely, they say until they lose a suit, it costs them billions of dollars, then they can discover a product they can put in, and then somehow that saves them money or relieves liability. So how all that really works, I don't know. I know it has to deal strictly with money when you're and until that affects their bottom line, they're not going to make a change.
But in fact, isn't your product a nail in their coffin when it comes to their lawsuit?
I don't know how to address that correctly. A nail in their coffin. I do know that if they lose a lawsuit, our product and there are a couple others out there, but our product in particular, because of how it works and because they can't get around the patent, becomes a lifesaver to them. It saves them a ton of money when they lose a major lawsuit. That's what I've been told, and which I don't have enough information to give you more on that, because I don't know how the legal system actually works.
I understand, and I appreciate that. Now, you spoke about motivation. What's your motivation for doing what you do?
Children, kids. We give millions away a year to elementary school children around the world and stuff. I go to Europe, or even here in the U.S. now, and 7 and 8 and 6-year-old kids are using cell phones, or 8-year-old kids, and it just absolutely stuns me, because the effects we're going to see 25 years from now is not going to be a fun sight to see.
Now, when you say you give millions away, are you talking millions of dollars or millions of dollars worth of product?
Millions of product.
Okay. So what you're doing... So basically what you're doing is you're using the giving of product away as promotional material for your product.
Well, both as promotional material for our product, but primarily we give it away to only elementary school kids that are using cell phones, because I feel they're more risk of danger, permanent danger in the long term than like you and myself. We've been doing it for a lot of years, so there may or may not already be damage we can't undo. I believe we can make a difference to children, so that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it.
Is this donation a tax write-off for your company?
It potentially could be. I've never used it for such yet.
All right.
And often that's because we do it in so many different countries, and it's not in major amounts in any one place. So no, that's just something that, as a company, I felt was our responsibility to do if we had the information.
Hats off to you for that, sir.
Thank you. But yeah, the whole reason I started this was because of kids. So
all right. So what happens when all the cell frequencies and microwave frequencies are taken? Everybody's jammed up. As it is now, cell tower companies pay a minimum of $1,000 a month to the property owner where a cell tower is located as rent.
Yep.
This is just it's gone out of control. What's the next step in the evolution of the cell phone, in your opinion?
They're actually going to a higher level of frequency that surpasses the ones we currently have, but even eventually that will all get surpassed. So I believe at some point they're going to find a way to actually, instead of running it through the air, there's electromagnetic patterns within the earth, and if they could find a way to tap into that and utilize that, it would free up a lot of the stuff that's happening in the air, though I'm not so sure that'd be healthier for the earth. It's called ley lines, or there's just energy patterns that run throughout the planet. What they're going to do for sure, I don't know. But they're right, they're with what they're bouncing off of satellites back and forth, that's even getting saturated. Like I said, like on the Pentagon, they had so many towers that they were chattering to each other and had to find a way to stop that. They're coming up with more and more new things, and as they create better and better fiber optic systems that will transport that, it goes to a tower and then will travel through the fiber optics and come up at another tower. I believe they're going to end up using energy fields similar to like radionics at some point to be able to transport that type of information.
In fact, I was talking to a professor who's in China at a university, and he was telling me in China they're developing a way to transport or to carry the waves in the electrical outlets, in the lines that are already all over China. And it'll just be a matter of, if you're in the city, the electrical lines will carry the signal, and if you're out in the country, there'll be the odd and sporadic tower.
That would be one answer, and that's very likely because the way they create fiber optics, but wiring in a house, whether it's copper or aluminum, if the bigger the surface area, and if it's braided wire, there's a lot of extra space that they can run information over.
In fact, there's what's it called? The phone jack. That is available at...
I have one.
Yeah, it just plugs into your wall.
Yeah, and it does require internet, though. So it plugs into your wall, runs over your wiring, and then goes through your internet or your...
But they do now have the adapter that you do not require internet. You just plug it into your wall, and there's a little attachment that's on the piece that goes into the wall that you just plug your phone into.
It's actually a microchip, and it's actually a mini... what do you call it? The word I want to use. It's a mini modem.
Wow, there you
go.
go.
Works.
Technology,
and it's great because for $19 a year you get free phone service.
That's right. It must tick the phone company off like crazy. Looks good on them.
But they will be utilizing more and more of that type of technology as we go forward. Like in Japan, it's really great if they can run it over wiring that already exists and continues to exist until they develop some new form of energy.
Yeah.
That would take up a lot of space and make it much more feasible. But you got to remember they have a small area there, and the average person has 3 cell phones. So when the demand gets high enough and the need is so great, they'll
What the hell do you need 3 cell phones for? You've only got 2 arms, for God's sake.
I've been to a few countries that the average person actually owns 3 cell phones.
All right, stand by, Kim. You and I have to take our final break. I know where they keep the third one. Kim, Dan, Durand, and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break, X-Zone Nation. Hey, listen. I've gone to this guy's website. It seems like a great invention. It's not expensive. We're going to tell you on the other side of this break how you can buy your very own. Protect your family. Protect your friends. This is what this gentleman's all about, protecting and saving. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, soul balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Kim Durand. He is the CEO of Aulterra International. Their website is www.aulterra.com. First of all, Dan, I want to thank you ever so much for two reasons. Number one, for coming on the show, and number two, for inventing your neutralizer, because, we need this. We desperately need this. This could be the best Christmas present anybody can buy. What is it, Dan? You get 3 of them in a package for $30. That equates to one Chinese person you know, or 3 other people that you know who each have one cell phone.
It's $10 a piece, and it's really quite. We made it at that cost and spent a lot of, like I said, over $1 million getting to the point that we could produce it at that cost and make it affordable to anybody in the world.
Now, how big are they, Dan?
They're actually an inch and a quarter in diameter.
They're
very, very thin, wow. and they can actually fit inside the cell phone, which when I first started doing this, they didn't have the iPhone yet. And,
right.
And those Steve Jobs and I went around several times on stuff. I wanted to be able to go in a phone so that it would never wear off.
Right.
The first version that we did was paper. Now they're vinyl, and they have a lot of security systems built into it. Because we're so global, and they can go on the outside of the phone. They're flat. They don't affect how your phone sits or looks or any. They're gorgeous. So they're an inch and a quarter in diameter and very, very thin.
You know what I like about the entire neutralizer concept is that it helps people who are using the cell phone. And Exonation, you may be saying, yeah, well, I don't need one because I don't have a cell phone. Oh, yes, you do, because if you're outside, there's microwave towers. If you're inside, you've got... you've got your wireless router. If you're inside, you have the, this is an asset.
What if you're in an elevator talking to 6 other people are talking on their cell phones? If you don't have a neutralizer or they don't have one on theirs, you're getting bombarded, so you might as well keep one in your wallet or your pocket. Or, like I said, we're coming out with some other products that actually people can wear that will protect them.
Plus, you're getting into fundraising.
Well, fundraising is really, one of our primary drives. We've just brought a couple of people in, and using it, we found that going through the PTA was a successful way to do it. And children sell those to other people instead of cookies, or whatever, to put on their cell phones. They're able to take them home. The schools get at least 50% of all the money that goes from it goes to the schools. We donate several thousands to different schools and over 1 million around the world year-round, simply because it makes a difference for kids using computers, using laptops, using their cell phones. We have them put them on their Game Boys, all that stuff. It all makes a difference.
And of course,
we see a big difference in children.
And of course, everyone can go to your website. All the information is there. They can actually make a purchase online. And Exonation, the website is very simple. It's www.aulterra.com. And his name is Kim. I've been calling him Dan on and off because a good friend of mine I went to school with, his name was Dan Durand from Montreal. So there you go. That's where that came from. Kim, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. You're going to be on the show in the future. We have to talk more about this, and we have to get this message out there.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful, and I appreciate it, and all to your audience for taking the time to listen. I'm most grateful, and hopefully we'll hear from lots of people.
Hopefully. You take care of yourself, Dan. Have a wonderful day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Rob. You take care.
See, I just did it again. Kim Durand has been my guest this hour. www.aulterra.com. And I was only kidding about the calling him Dan last time. His name is really Kim Durand. Watch out for this gentleman on a TV station coming near you. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.